What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar with C-Zar Gets Crypto, and we are going to be talking about Bitcoin today on a very long-term kind of perspective, getting the ideas, because I know a lot of you, I see it often enough in the comments where people are asking questions about the cycle, right? Some people don't believe in the cycle. You know, we're all entitled to our own opinions. I do personally believe that we are about to experience a bull cycle right now. We're in the midst of one, actually. I think we've been in one for a while now. And I don't think it's going to end until late 2025, right? Just to answer those questions. But I want to go over why I think that is. Why, you know, these aren't just magical numbers I'm pulling out of my ass. Let's actually go over why I believe that, okay? Because a lot of you have those questions, right? Some of us out there believe that the bull market is going to end sometime next year. Some of us believe it's going to be like later than that, like 2026. I want to go over why I believe it'll be late 2025. Okay, so without any further ado, without repeating the same thing, let's get into it. So if we take the halvings into consideration, and I very much do believe that the Bitcoin halving event is a significant event for not just Bitcoin, but for all of crypto. I think it is a very significant event. If we take those into account, we put some vertical lines there, right? Let's just go for it here. When it was November of 2012 was the first halving. The second halving was July of 2016. I don't even need to look at it anymore, man. I just know. And then 2020 May was the third halving. The next halving, the fourth halving, is projected to be in April of next year. Now, it could be March, it could be May, you know, it could be off by a little bit of time, but more or less you can see how these are like more or less like equivalent, cyclical, right? They're about evenly spaced in between. A little bit off even, but more or less the same. Went from November to July to May, now to April, you know, so it is getting like closer and closer together, but more or less 4 years apart each time. You can see here through measurement that if we take the month of the halving to when the cycle topped out, which I think, let's see here, this high was 1,242. This high was 1,240, so it was the green candle here. That was 12 bars, okay? 12 months, 1 year after the halving, and I believe, let me see actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, yes. 12 bars, but not including the month of the halving, okay? 12 bars of bull cycle after the halving, okay? Not before it, because the bull cycle did start before that, right? We go to the halving again from here to the top, 17 bars, okay? 17 bars. And then this one right here, from the halving to the top, to the cycle top. Some people want to say it was this top here, but that would be the shortest bull market that we've seen so far, and so far what looks to be a trend that is elongating. This was 18 bars, very close to the previous one, but to me this would make more sense. You know, 11 bars, pretty close to 12 bars, but to me, again, this still makes more sense, honestly. 18 bars, 17 bars, something like that. So if the halving were to happen in April, and we went 17 bars out, that would be September of 2025. If we went 18 bars out, that's October. If we continue this trend of elongating the bull market cycles, maybe it's November or December. Maybe it's even the beginning of 2026 that this Bitcoin cycle will end. Now, there's more that I want to go over besides just the time frames, right? I want to go over how much growth we're going to see, how high this price can go. Because I think, you guys, I think a lot of people are underplaying this bull market. They're not even aware of the reasons why. Okay, now, before I get into that, I want to start off by talking about the Bitcoin ETFs. Okay, ETFs, because everybody always says it's the Bitcoin ETF. No, there's several ETFs that are trying to get passed. This is not the first time, not the second time, not the third time. It's I don't even think it's like the sixth time, man, that a handful of ETFs have been trying to get passed. There's a lot of momentum behind this news, behind this narrative that the ETFs are going to get passed, and I think they will. I think they will. I don't think that it's going to happen in 2024, though. And here's why. And I can be wrong. I've been wrong before. I can be wrong again. But here's why, right? So the whole point of these ETFs, why anybody's excited about it, right? It's like when an altcoin is getting listed on Binance, the biggest exchange in the world for crypto, right? This coin is on nobody exchanges, right? Very small name exchanges. Maybe it's on KuCoin, which is a pretty decent exchange in itself. I love KuCoin, actually, man. It's a really good exchange for being like a second tier exchange. It's top tier in my mind, man. But the most liquidity, the most volume comes from Binance. It's the biggest exchange in the world, right? For crypto. This ETF for Bitcoin is like an altcoin getting listed on Binance, right? It's the same thing. You're going to be exposed to far more liquidity. You think Binance has the most liquidity, and it does as of right now. But when these ETFs get proposed, or not just that they're being proposed now, when they get approved and they get listed, we're going to see troves of institutional money like we've never seen before. Like literally, like immense money, right? Like it's going to be insane. The sad thing about the ETFs is that money's not going to go directly into the crypto market. In a certain respect, it will. It will probably drive the price up based on the hype alone and based on the demand for the Bitcoin ETFs. That'll maybe up the demand for Bitcoin in itself too. I would think that what's good for the Bitcoin ETFs will be good for Bitcoin price as well, and vice versa. But think about it, right? So think about it like that. Like it's this big exchange listing, right? And it's not just one ETF, it's several ETFs, several on-ramps for institutional money to come into play. Okay? I'm going to blow my face up here because we're not even talking about the charts. I got my big fat face on here. I was so close to filling out the screen. Come on, there we go. Several very big exchanges. Promoting this, right, for institutional money. I lost my train of thought, but I'm going to bring it right back. So when this happens, just like any time that we see in crypto, whenever a big exchange like Coinbase or Kraken or Binance or KuCoin or Robinhood or I don't know, Gemini, in any big exchange lists a new coin, it's very common, if not the day of the listing, sometime, like maybe it takes a month, maybe it takes a couple weeks, but sometime after the listing, the price tanks. It takes a big shit. And the reason for that is, and oftentimes before the listing, the price is on a trajectory upwards, like a massive trajectory upwards, right? Because of the news. But everybody thinks, and I think the news does have something to do with the price going up, but I also think that what it is the exchanges themselves are buying up the tokens, right? They're holding all that liquidity. They're not selling their tokens. They're waiting. When are they going to sell their tokens? When they list it. The exchanges that are buying these tokens, the big players buying these crypto assets, they start to sell them to who? To you, to me, to the people who are buying them off their exchange when they list them. And thus, there's no more buying pressure from the big dogs. There's only buying pressure from the little dogs. And the big dogs are now what? They're selling. They're selling it to you. So, and then you buy at highs and you get emotional and you add to the selling pressure too because you see it coming down. Who knows? Like there's a bunch of theories as to why things move up and down. I don't think there's like one right answer to that, right? Maybe there is, and I'm just ignorant, but I don't think there is, man. I've seen a lot of people try to explain exactly how it is, and there's a bunch of validation to all kinds of different theories as to why price moves. But what I'm trying to talk about right now is the very real theory that when a big exchange lists a coin, if not immediately, very soon after that listing, does the coin shit the bed. So with Bitcoin, with this ETF, going full circle here with Bitcoin, I hope I didn't lose anybody, because this is where the important stuff gets talked about. Is that Bitcoin is being bought right now. These exchanges that need Bitcoin on their balance sheet to promote their ETF, they're buying up Bitcoin. They're buying it up right now while it's cheap. They're loading up, man. The price is going to skyrocket as it is, right? As it is. When they list the Bitcoin the Bitcoin ETF, man, when they list it, there's going to be less buying pressure because they're not going to keep buying at that point, right? They're going to buy up all they can, and by the time that it's at highs, that's when they're going to list it so that you buy their ETF at a high price and they sell it to you, and then the price dumps, and then they can buy back at cheaper prices too, right? You'll be selling it back at cheaper prices. So a lot of people get this idea that the ETF is going to kick off the bull market. I have a different theory. It's that the ETFs are going to end the bull market very shortly after. It could be a month, it could be 2 months, it could be 2 weeks, it could be the day of an ETF listing. That's going to mark the end of the bull market. Now, they will get approved. The ETFs will get approved before then. They'll get approved and they'll probably be listed shortly after. I don't know what the time frames of these things are going to be. I don't think it's going to be like it gets approved one day and then the very next day it gets listed and available for the public. Maybe it takes a month, maybe it takes a couple weeks, I don't know. But the approval itself, when you hear the news that it's approved, that's going to be bullish. That's going to send the prices up for sure. But buy the hype, sell the news, right? You're buying the hype of it being approved. When the news comes out that it's listed, you sell that news. I really do think that the end of the cycle is when these ETFs are going to be listed, is what I'm trying to get at. So moving on from there, guys, let's get back to the technicals. I promise this all has a full circle effect. If you stick with it, maybe you'll hear what I'm saying. Maybe you'll just think I'm more crazy. But I personally don't. I just want to put a little pin in this. I don't think the ETFs are going to get approved at all in 2024. It's going to be 2025 that they get approved, if they get approved at all. If they don't get approved this cycle, it's gonna have to be next cycle, or maybe it's in the midst of the bear market. I don't know. It would make more sense to get approved while the price is doing well, though, right? That's how these things come into play. But again, to me, it wouldn't make sense at the beginning of the cycle, before the halving, to even have the ETFs being promoted, right? It doesn't make sense to me. But now I want to touch base on right before I started talking about the ETFs, right before I went on this whole crazy tangent here. I want to talk about the idea of the price. Now, a lot of people talk about the Bitcoin price because we already got the time frame, right? It's probably going to be the later half, maybe Q3 or Q4 of 2025, that the Bitcoin bull cycle, the crypto bull cycle, comes to an end. Probably Q4, probably around there is what I would think. But who knows? October, November, December, yeah, Q4. Where's the price going to be? What's the price going to do, right? Because a lot of people want to wonder that too. And a lot of people are saying that we will be lucky. We are going to be lucky to break 100K this cycle. We're going to be lucky if we get anywhere near 200K. But most people are like, I don't think we're going to break 200K. That's not going to happen. All the previous cycles, this cycle here, when we topped off at 19 to 20K, everyone's like, we're going to 50K by Christmas. I remember that, and it didn't happen, right? Here, we were like, we're going to 100K. No way we're not going to 100K. Now it's like, and don't get me wrong, 200K in itself is still a pretty bullish price action, but let's just do the math real quick, okay? Let's do the math. From this low, people are like, I don't even think it's going to 200K. That's the limit, right? That's the limit. And that's still very bullish. 200K would be very bullish, but it's not even going to 200K. That means most people are expecting that it doesn't even pump from low to high 1,200%, okay? It's a little bit less than 1,200% because I drew it a little bit over 200K, but who cares? Generalities, I'm okay with it. Let's go over every cycle so far, right? So obviously, from the very first low that we have down here in the early days to the cycle top, the very first all-time high, ridiculous growth, okay? Ridiculous growth. I'm not even going to try to read that number, but it's ridiculous. And yes, it gets smaller. Yes, it does, as it goes on. Now we have 62,186% in growth, okay? From low to high, cycle low to cycle high. This cycle low to cycle high, we had 12,124. 62,100, 12,124, right? Decreasing. It's decreasing. And then we had from this cycle low, come on now if I can get it, that cycle low, to the cycle high, we had 2,108% in growth, okay? Now, to be fair, at this trajectory, I've heard some people call this, there's this one guy on YouTube who I'm not going to name because I don't think he deserves credit, man, but I'm sure a lot of you guys know this crackpot, calls it the 5.3 theory, man. It's not the 5. If you go through and divide it, it's actually not 5.3. That's rounding, and if you want to be precise, you're going to use decimals. You shouldn't. That's just my theory. I'm not trying to talk crap about it, but I don't believe in that 5.3 theory. If anybody knows about the 5.3 theory, the idea is that you divide this by 5.3. That's what this is. That's what this is. That's what this is, and then this divided by 5.3. Well, 21 divided by 5.3 would be, we'd get 400 and something % in growth. Okay. Which would take us basically back to the all-time highs, and then we turn around from there. I don't think we're going to see that. I don't think we're going to see that at all. And I very much don't expect that we're going to see a 1,200% growth. I don't think that we're going to stop there. There's a reason for that. I actually very much believe that this cycle is going to be stronger than the last cycle. From low to high, as far as percentage growth goes, we're going to, for the first time in Bitcoin's history, see a bull market that exceeds the overall growth of the previous bull market. And I've talked about this in a few videos, and I'm going to go over it now. There's several reasons for this, but I want to go over the primary reason why I believe this, okay? Let's talk now about the DXY. We're going to compare it on this chart. We're going to keep it new price scale. Here we go. DXY, logarithmic, and let's make it some candles, right? Let's do some candles. I will move this so that it doesn't look, it's not like totally in the way. I will come back to these bars here. I'm going to delete them for now. But looking at Bitcoin versus the DXY, I'm going to put vertical lines now at points when the DXY starts to turn up, okay? And by the way, the DXY, it's in an uptrend. It's been in an uptrend for a while now, but it goes past this back to 2008, the housing market crash in 2008, 2007. That's whenever it formed its uptrend, right? Very big dump, and then it formed its uptrend. But here, let's see. Maybe not here, because this isn't a good example. This is like the beginning times of Bitcoin. But here, at the this pivotal point, come on now, let me see. Sorry for that squawking goose in the background. I gotta keep that goose tame, man. But looking at this here, let's see here. This would have been the low for the DXY where it turned around. Was also at the top of the Bitcoin bull cycle, right? The first top. And technically it was off by a month, but more or less very close to that, okay? So the bull market had its full effect before the DXY started to do its thing, okay? Moving into the next bull cycle here, we had our top here, and the bear market happened when? It happened after the bear market started, but the DXY started to turn up during this bear market, right? Which probably led to the price to come down more, okay? Expansion phase, okay? Expansion phase of the DXY. Here we are again. You know, yes, the DXY is going up. Bitcoin's going up too. They can do that. But this, you can see where this is different than this move, right? It's absolutely different than this move. Here, where Bitcoin topped off in 2017, it was very close to this low point here, right? Very, very close to this low point here. And the DXY started to go up. Bitcoin started to go down. As Bitcoin was coming up here, the DXY was also coming up in unison. They can move together. And then it started to move down as the DXY topped off. Bitcoin bottomed out and it started to run again. But what happened this time? So the last, I want to go over, in case you missed it, in case I was just like talking through it and I didn't point it out. At the very end of the cycle, 1 month left in the cycle, that's all we had. The DXY turned around and it started to move up, okay? But that was with 1 month left in the cycle. So very much toward the end of the cycle. You know, here the DXY was not expanding. It started expanding in the bear market, okay, for Bitcoin. DXY expanding in the bear market. Here, as we're moving up, or I guess here on this low point, the DXY started to move down. Bitcoin was moving up, but during the last bull cycle, because that's what this is, it's the last bull cycle, the DXY bottomed here, technically found its low here, but it started to expand here. This was not 1 month before Bitcoin faced its bear market, right? This was, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, almost half a year of price action that was stagnated, that was held back by this rapid expansion in the DXY, right? And it goes through these rapid expansion phases only sometimes, right? We had it back here too, coming into it. But what I'm trying to get at is these expansion phases that happen in the DXY, they don't last forever, and they don't happen every single cycle. And in fact, the last cycle where we got our first double top, the lowest, the smallest amount of growth by far that we've seen in any crypto cycle from low to high, happened as the dollar was in its expansion phase. Yes, you know, we topped off here, but the dollar was not in its expansion phase, right? So we had a very dramatic, very bullish finish, parabolic blow off top, right? Yes, we topped off here, but the dollar was not in its expansion phase. It didn't expand until the bear market. This was the first bull market right here that we were near our highs while the dollar was turning around. And by that time, by the way, I counted 5 months from when it started to expand. By that time, for about like what would that be? 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 months. So a total of like 9 months, the dollar itself was holding its ground and moving up. So like however you want to count that, it was quite some time before Bitcoin's bull market was done that the dollar was starting to show bullish signs, right? That's what I'm trying to get to now. Here's the kicker. So You can't see it now because, again, this chart, the comparison will only go as far as Bitcoin's history is, but this was an expansion phase here. The dollar ended its expansion phase. It didn't start it until here. Let's say it happened here. That was 49 bars, okay? We go to our expansion phase here. I guess, this is where the top is, so we could count it. I would probably count this as the top overall, maybe. But like the rapid expansion was there. We didn't break out and start to expand again until, I guess we didn't find our low until here, which is about 53 bars. 49 bars, 53 bars, pretty close together, right? All that to say, here's the top here. I don't think that we're going to, just like this last time, I don't think that we topped off and then we're going to climb higher. I think we're doing things a little bit differently this time. But long story short, I don't think that we're going to see an expansion phase like this, like what we were seeing back here. We're not going to see that for at least 45 to 55 months. 45 months would be the middle of 2026, probably in the midst of the bear market, right? And then 55 would be, that'd be sometime in 2027. 55 is sometime in 2027. So what I'm getting at is this bull market, Bitcoin, will grow, and it will not have the dollar's expansion phase to interfere with its growth. It did last time. So my thought to this is that we are overly bearish, and I say we, I'm not included in this, that most people are overly bearish on their assumptions that Bitcoin can't break 200K. I'm going to delete the DXY now. I hope that I've made my point. I hope it makes sense. I'm not just a crackpot here, but looking at this here, from the low to the high, 2,100%. We're not going to have the DXY interfering with it. We're not going to have COVID interfering with it. Hopefully we get a better president in the United States, White House, whatever. There's bullish things going on with the ETF. Even if it doesn't get approved in 2024, I do think that by the end of the cycle, we will see it approved. We will see it listed. And then once that happens, that's probably the end of the cycle, right? It's all tying together, right? All this bullishness going on that was not there. There was a lot of bearish things going on. And the main kicker for me was the DXY starting to turn up while we were supposed to have our dramatic finish. But it's like, the dollar's going up and everything else is going to stagnate. And everything else did stagnate, right? If during all these circumstances, we only saw a 2,100% growth, I very much do expect that we're going to see greater than that this time. Okay, and I want to fine tune this. Like, I want to make sure I'm very close, not just like kind of close, but very, very close. Put it right there, right? Can we agree that that's like pretty damn close, right? Off by like a margin, a very small margin. If we saw the same growth as we did in the last cycle, the same growth, the smallest growth we've seen by far in any bull cycle, if we saw the same percentage of growth, and I think we're going to see greater than it, that would take us to prices above $300,000. And again, I've said a few times in this video, more than a few times, that I think we're going to go above this. We're going to do more growth than this. And this is where the finale, the ending of it comes in, right? Using fibs, my favorite tool to use, the Fibonacci extension, Fibonacci retracement tool. You take from top to bottom the first cycle's high to low. We topped off at the 2272. Found support on the 1618, continued to move up from there. We could use it going forward. Hey, you found some resistance at the 3618, but I'm not going to, right? We're just looking at this top to bottom. Next cycle's high from the previous cycle high to low was at the 2272. Very close to it, right? A little bit above it, but very close to it. Top to bottom here, from this cycle high to this cycle low, 2272. Mind you, both of these cycles, again, did not have the DXY expanding while Bitcoin was in its bull market. It didn't have that going on, right? In fact, when this one did, it was the month before it found its bottom, it started to expand, right? And it didn't even expand rapidly like we did in this bear market here, but it started to go up. We still had a month, and then we went down. But nonetheless, 2272 to this one, 2272 here. The one time that we had the DXY going through its expansion phase during a crypto bull market, we still hit the 1618. The golden extension. But it was the first time that we double topped. It was the first time that we did not see the 2272. And I very much do believe, you guys, that we were robbed. I think we were robbed last cycle. It was just, or maybe it wasn't robbed. Maybe it was just meant to be. It was how things lined up and people weren't paying attention to the DXY or other things going on in the world. I know there were some people that called this high as a double top. But, as far as Bitcoin's nature goes, it doesn't tend to be this way, right? Before I continue with showing you from this top to this low here where the 2272 is going to be on that, I want to go over a little bit of something of what I know with fibs, and I'm gonna keep this here, but I am going to hide it for now. Whenever you find resistance on any of these fib extensions, right? But generally, what you'll do is you'll reach the 1272 to the 1618. You'll find resistance in your realm of expectations, is what I like to call it, the 1618 to 1272. That's generally where you find resistance, somewhere in this range. If you do find resistance here, you come down to the 886. It's very common to see this maneuver, okay, to bounce off specifically the 886, okay. After you find resistance up here, you come down, find support on your 886. Sometimes you go to your 786, sometimes you go to your 618, but very commonly enough, I've shown it enough times on this channel where this exact move like this happens to your expected zone and then down specifically on your 886. Whenever you see this, what that means is you're going to see deeper extensions, okay? Whenever you see this, and I think we're above the 1272 now. We didn't find it. We found a little resistance on it, but we broke above it. When I say we're going to see deeper extensions, I mean deeper than where we checked off last point. If we checked off at the 1272, then the next target would be the 1618. But the last time that we checked off was the 1618. So the next target is the 1886, all the way up at about 100K, okay? But really, Bitcoin hasn't really shown too much significance on its 1886 ever, right? There's a lot of altcoins that do, but Bitcoin has shown more significance on its 2272 and even on its 1618, whether it's as resistance or support. So based off of this alone, based off of this fib, the 2272 would be above 200,000. That in itself would suggest that we go to, and I very much expect that with this, that we will see deeper extensions to the 2272. The 2618 is all the way up there at 392,000. 1 second. Forget where I was, but long story short, I'm kind of discounting this area. Yes, it is like the next fib up, but again, with Bitcoin, with fibs, you kind of you try to look for where things are respected. But anyways, before I lose my train of thought completely here, that would be based off of this fib here. Sorry, someone knocked on the door. That's why I'm getting all lost. But anyways. Top to bottom here, 2272 is at the $207,000 level. If we take this top to this low, and we have a larger growth than we saw in the last cycle, which again, I have it hidden. I need to bring it out from hiding. How do I do that? Where is it? Is there a way? How do I do it? I hid it. How do I get it back? There used to be a settings thing down here that I could get it back from. Okay, whatever. I'll just draw it again. Top to bottom here, or bottom to top here. 200 or 2,100% growth. Right down at the low, right? Very, very close. Let me see if I can get it. There we go. That would put us again at 340,000, 350,000, something like that. From top to bottom here, we pull this fib down. The 2272 is higher than this, okay? And again, revolving all the way back, full circle, I believe this bull cycle for Bitcoin will be stronger and overall just like bigger than the last bull cycle. It'll be the first bull cycle that we've seen a growth in percentage in comparison to a previous bull cycle. If we did the same exact thing as the last cycle, that would keep us here, which is just shy of this 2272, which we've hit the previous two cycles, excluding the last cycle, the two cycles before then, when we didn't have the dollar, the DXY, in an expansion phase. Where last cycle we did, this cycle we will not. We already went over that, right? It's going to happen in like late 2026, if not likely, probably sometime in 2027. So we've got this whole bull cycle without the DXY getting in our way. The DXY can go up and Bitcoin can go up at the same time. In fact, I'm pretty sure they're doing that now. I'm pretty sure the DXY found a momentary low. Bitcoin's expanding and the DXY is expanding. But what I'm trying to say is the DXY is not going to go through an expansion phase, like a rapid expansion phase like it does, right? It's got some time to cool off. We don't have that in our way. I think that we're going to see a larger bull market. I think we're going to do what we've done and what we probably would have done if we didn't get hit by the DXY in the last cycle. We're going to hit this 2272 all the way up at $462,000 and probably just a little bit above that. I think this bull market for Bitcoin and the rest of crypto, especially the OG coins, and there's going to be new coins that pop off and do well too. There always is. But I think this is going to be an OG cycle. A lot of OG coins are going to outperform a lot of coins that came about in the last cycle, right? When I say OG coins, I mean from like 2017 and before, maybe 2018, but OG coins is what I'm thinking. And more than that, Bitcoin in itself is going to do, from what it's at now, from what I've projected, Bitcoin will see a greater than a 10x in overall market growth. And that's all I got for you guys. So if you like the video, leave a thumbs up. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. I hope that it all made sense. I hope I didn't get too crazy or lost whenever I was focused on the door over there or whatever. But guys, I think people are bearish when they're scratching their head and they're saying, I don't really think we're going to break 200K. I do think we'll go above 100K, but I don't think we're going to break 200K. It just sounds like a bird box, right? It sounds like those damn parrots again, man, where everybody's like, is there a reason for that? Is it because of last cycle, the weak-ass cycle, the weakest cycle we saw where we actually had a double top and we saw stagnation that we've never seen before? Look at this, man. Before I end off, actually, for anybody who's still here, as far as the RSI goes, we were, let's see, so we went below the 50 here. We came up to the overbought zone and then went back down to the 50 and then went up, right? Here we are, below the 50. We came up. We didn't go to the overbought zone like last time, right? We didn't have this rapid growth. We had more of a consolidation phase for a while. We just moved sideways. We even dipped below the 50 again, and now we're moving up. I feel like right now where we are is like approximately like over here. I don't think it's right here. I think we're like something like this, like where this bull market kicked off. And the thing is we could absolutely see continued growth like this going into the halving. We absolutely could. I don't think that we will. I don't think that we'll be above the all-time highs by the halving, but we absolutely could be above 50K by the halving. And we'll probably see a little bit of a pullback, but more or less, guys, we're on a trajectory right now that's going to take us to new all-time highs in a very, very, like, relatively speaking, short amount of time. In 2024, it's very likely going to happen. I would think probably in the second half of 2024. And on this chart, by the way, that already is 2025. So it'll probably happen a little bit quicker than that. But what I'm trying to say is that the RSI right now is bullish. We are showing, I think we're having a more bullish reaction than we did in the last cycle. I think we have built more constructively than we did in the last cycle. We're not going to have COVID. We're not going to have a world economic catastrophe to keep us from continuing. I do think we'll see some kind of a pullback, but it won't be like this. It won't be like that at all. I think a lot of people are hoping that we see that. In fact, I actually think that this pullback here was exactly what this was here, but instead of a pullback, we just consolidated and we moved up. It's stronger this time. It's absolutely stronger this time, and I think once we get a month to close in the overbought zone, that'll be the proof that we need. That'll really be the proof we need. Just like this time here, where we didn't go to the overbought zone and then come back down like this. We actually went to the overbought zone, held the 60 area, the bullish area of control, and then continued to move up. I think we're going to see something like that. Maybe we barely get into the overbought zone, then come out, but nonetheless, it'll be stronger readings for where we are in the cycle this time around than the last time. Again, I was going to finish it there, or I was going to finish it before that, but I feel like the RSI, the monthly RSI, looks a lot more bullish. Weekly RSI is doing its thing, but here we are at 44K, man. Who knows where we'll be by the end of the year? Leave in the comments where you think we're going to be by the end of the year. I personally don't think we'll break 50K. I think by the halving, we could break 50K. But I'm kind of expecting you guys that in January, all this bullishness aside, in January, we're probably going to see a dump. We're probably going to see a pre-halving dump. That's probably what's going to happen. If not January, February, but I would think January. I think we're overdue for one. And that's okay, right? We're pretty overbought on the weekly RSI here. And I promise you, with that, I'm going to leave it, right? We could go up a little bit higher, right? Look at all these where we like to top off. We normally go a little bit higher, but this is a pretty sufficient range to turn around. But I digress. I ditest. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, leave that thumbs up. Leave that like button. Give that like button a hit. And subscribe if you want to see more content. That's all I got for you. So take care. Have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. Bye-bye.